Like when I'm with somebody, I'm never thinking like intimately, like, God, I'm so happy that she just wants me and not anybody else.
Right,
It's just not like a thing that's ever in my head, I guess.
But the reason you're not even feeling that in the first place, it's like these deep emotional feelings about somebody else. That's what I'm saying. There's like a deeper level of intimacy or connection.
What does that have to do with whether or not they're with somebody else when they're not with you?
I think what Jack's trying to say is if you had like maybe a deeper connection or a deeper...
I'm saying like I think that the connections are slightly more shallow in open relationships because of what is okay for it to happen.
I got a new car recently, and I'm not gonna let no one drive that car. It's just my car. My boys come into town. No, you can't take my car to go to the store. My family come in town. No, get your hands off those goddamn keys. Shit, if Jesus rose from heaven and say, hey, yo, bro, can I drive your car? No, Jesus, go catch the bus. Now, let's say I did let Jesus use my car and he returned my car and he said that he spilled something in the center console. That's essentially what happens in these open relationships, is that other men get to spill things on your wife.
It's really about hiring, I guess, the best lawyer that you can.
Yeah.
Who just argues better than the other lawyer. We had a divorce lawyer on who was talking about how he wins cases against other inexperienced lawyers just because he's so much better. And the people that could afford to hire him know that he has a higher success rate because of that.
You're going through a divorce right now.
I'm done with my divorce.
You're done with a divorce right now.
I heard divorces could take a very long time.
No contest divorce, like 2 weeks.
Really?
You just sign the papers and send them to a judge and they look at it and they give you a judgment and you're done, yeah.
And you had a prenup?
No.
How
it was
is
a short marriage. It was like less than 5 years, so.
So what does that mean if it's a short marriage versus a long marriage?
Alimony.
Longer marriage, there's going to be a stronger case being made for alimony, but it also depends on if the earning potentials of your partner was hurt, so they stopped working, or if you've got children or shared assets or anything like that. Yeah.
You were in an open marriage, which means each partner can sleep with other people and have these like kind of micro relationships with other people. A lot of people were speculating that it would eventually fail.
Yep.
What is your response to those people that say, what did you think was going to happen?
I mean, most relationships fail. I had 4 monogamous ones before this open one, and they all failed.
That is true.
Most relationships fail.
I guess the difference was that you weren't married to those.
I was married to my high school girlfriend. Yeah.
Okay.
What's so interesting about his answer is that we all know that we can do things in our life to increase the likelihood of something happening, right? If everyone applied to Harvard and no one that you know got in, does that just mean that you're just destined to fail? No. What are the things that people are doing to increase their chances of getting into Harvard? What books are they reading? What skills or competencies have they built up? What references do they put on their application, right? There's things that you can do to increase the chances of success happening. Having an open marriage is one of the ways to not have a marriage work, to the extent of having your girlfriend send I love you text to the other guy living in a crib that you bought in a country that you're currently not living in. I mean, it's completely ridiculous how he just ignores all of the things that the content creators of the space have been saying regarding that relationship. And at the same time, shitting on all of these different concepts of RP within that.
So,
got me.
I mean, most relationships fail. The next relationship, I mean, I can make a prediction. The next relationship will definitely be an open relationship because it's probably the only style I would do. And that one will probably fail as well. I mean, just statistically speaking, like, yeah, it will probably happen.
Were there signs that it was going in this direction ahead of time?
Yeah, for sure. But there were just things I had to learn about myself that
What'd you have to learn about yourself?
I think because of the way that I grew up, I'm very much a, I have to do everything, and I'm like very, very, very independent. And I always thought that was a really good character trait.
Okay.
And I think it is for like business stuff, but I think for relationships, I think it's really bad because you tend to take, rather than ever assigning any responsibility or blame to my partner, I would just assume that I need to figure out everything for myself. And then I'm also like very not reliant on my partner for anything, which I also thought was like a benefit, but it's not. It just makes the other person feel like unwanted or unneeded.
What?
Go into that a little bit more because I don't want to say I'm similar, but I'm very much the same way where if something happens, deep down, I look to myself and I'm like, how could I have handled that different? Because you can't dictate what another person's going to respond with or do. And I look at that and like, how can I improve myself? Where did I go wrong?
Yeah.
And
great question. And the reason why Graham is asking this is because Destiny is doing something that he's conflating two things, right? So he's saying that because of the way that he grew up, he's independent. Therefore, if something was happening in a relationship, he'd take accountability for it. Being an independent minded or thinker doesn't then mean that you take accountability for shit. Look at the world of modern women today, right? That's a prime example. simple. What I think the actual issue is being an independent thinker, but then also being a pushover, not holding your girl accountable for the bullshit that she does, not holding her feet to the fire, not making her apologize, not making her invest her time, her energy, attention into the relationship to ensure that she's there for the right reasons, making sure that her words are matched up to her actions and she's not just giving you game, because irrespective of the game, the actions will demonstrate who she actually is. He's conflating things there, but let's listen to his answer.
I like to think of myself as like very independent, and I don't want to like throw too much on my partner.
So I think the issue here is every single piece of advice I'm about to give, a lot of the people that say this are actually the most energy vampiric subhuman piece of shit bucks in the world. So it's hard. It's like that whenever you see somebody tweet like, oh, like everybody around me always needs so much and I wish somebody would just like take care of me for once. Yeah. 99% of the time that's an energy fucking vampire.
Hate those people.
Okay, who actually is the most like energy consuming sucking person that doesn't help anybody else out except for when it can benefit them, blah, blah, blah.
Agreed.
So take everything I say with a grain of salt. Maybe I am that person. Basically, I would get into conflict where it felt like my partner was able to justify every bad action they did on my prior bad actions. Right. And I had done bad things. Like, I'm not perfect. I do fuck up. I make mistakes. But every time they made a mistake, it was because of mistakes that I'd made. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, fuck. Like, well, what can I do to change this in the future? Like, can I do this, or can I change this, or can I do that? And every time there was a fault that was my fault, it's my fault, and I'll do what I can for it. And then I'll see what behaviors I can change. But I never could like tell my partner like, hey, can you not do this, or can you make this change? Why? Or can you stop this behavior?
Why?
Because then it was like the end of the world. So, but I set that dynamic up because I'd gone through the whole relationship never being able to make any asks for anything.
Holy moly.
From the other person.
No wonder.
And it kind of, yeah.
You got to get a backbone.
Good, I think, yeah.
Got it. So in a new relationship, you're going to be more outspoken,
more of a man.
Yeah, I just have a hard time asking for things from people. I kind of just like meme and joke, even professionally. Sometimes I've gotten better at it recently, the past like 2 years especially. But I'll kind of like, if somebody's making me uncomfortable, I usually just like meme or joke it off, or it's whatever, until they reach a breaking point, and then I cut them out of my life completely. And for a lot of people, that's really confusing because they're like, okay, well, hold on, how did I just get cut out completely? I didn't know I was even bothering you. And it's like, well, and then I'll say something like, well, come on, you should have known. This is obvious.
What?
But then when I think about it, it's actually not obvious because I laugh and meme everything off. So it's like people don't actually know.
Did this come out?
It's not obvious at all. It's actually the most passive aggressive thing that you can absolutely do in a relationship. See, me within my relationships, everybody knows where I stand with them because I'm direct with people. If I don't like you, I don't talk to you. If I do like you and you're a part of my community, you're part of my inner circle, you are very clear on that. There's only but so much laughy and jokey that you can have around people in and around your space. There's only but so much sarcasm. And I think to a degree, his sarcasm is what elevates him to be a fantastic debater, because he never takes things too seriously. But I find it so interesting is that someone who's as good as a live streamer and as talented as a debater of destiny that focuses in on the facts, he researches all these statistics, he tries to be as most accurate as we possibly can be in these debates. He could just wipe the floor with you because of how much research that he puts into something, into being right. But when it comes to your relationships with women, you're soft as a pillow. This is the farthest thing that men should be doing today to earn respect from both men and from women. On the women's perspective, I tell you guys this ad nauseum. At the point that you lose respect, you have lost your woman. Women do not respect sarcasm when you need to be direct with them. The majority of these modern women today just love to be put in their goddamn place. Not in a raging, maniac, egotistical way, but firm, clear, and direct. Set your boundaries and never be a damn pushover.
Out of the blue for you?
No, I don't think so. No.
Did it
Is
come
there
out the
anything
blue?
you would have done differently leading up to the situation that happened?
Not having an open marriage or relationship, not being a pushover, not allowing the lover to sleep in his crib across seas. I mean, Jesus, name them.
Like getting divorced, or?
No, I'm talking about maybe you could have done something prior to then that maybe would have had a different outcome, or you could have saved something.
I think my general behavior in the relationship of not like putting like very not being able to make asks for things or accepting or tolerating certain types of behavior that are probably not okay, I guess. So like having like I need somebody that shares my values in terms of what's important and what's not important in a relationship, I guess. Yeah. And if somebody doesn't share those same values, so for instance, like trashing your partner to another person, to another friend,
she was trashing him.
Traditionally, I would never do that, and I need somebody that like is aligned on that. And if I let somebody else do that, and I'm like, well, they view things differently than I do, whatever, that's probably not a good thing, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
You seem to be very matter of fact about it. How did it affect you personally or emotionally
Good question.
going through something like this? Was it really challenging? Because it's kind of weird hearing you talk about it in such a
Matter of fact
I would
way.
say nonchalant way.
Yeah, my emotional baseline is just really, really, really high. So as long as I'm not like my life isn't fucked, if I go to sleep, I wake up, I'm usually a little bit better, every day, and I just kind of keep going.
I like that.
Do you ever wish you had more emotional variance?
I don't think so.
No.
Maybe I'm not sure. I've talked to a few people.
If he did, I have a sneaking suspicion that most of the live streamers that can live stream for 7-8 hours per day and do it damn near every day, I think that they're all low-key psychopaths. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just think that they have a natural way to ignore or just avoid all comments that come their way and just focus on their eye on the prize. I think it also applies to CEOs of major corporations, presidents of the United States. The amount of emotional control necessary to make some of the biggest decisions that impact people's lives is actually a good trait to have. By you, I might add, comes a lot more natural to men than to women. Let go.
Dr. K, a couple other people about that. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if I miss some things in life because my emotional variance maybe isn't that high, but I don't think so. I think I'm doing fine.
Because being super sad can be a really pleasant experience.
Bullshit.
Oddly enough, because you can find the beauty in the sadness.
No.
Maybe. I mean,
It's all part of the experience.
fuck that. No, I don't think
You don't think so at all?
Fuck that. No, it doesn't sound like fun to me.
No, it doesn't.
Interesting.
And I disagree there. I think that the being sad or not having emotional control to just be even keel at all time, being stoic at all time. I think what he's meaning is that later on, when you come out of the sadness, there's a happiness feeling. Sort of like the expression that you can't enjoy the beauty in life without suffering through the pain first. Let's keep going though.
Like watching a sad movie.
Yeah, that's definitely. I
would say that's kind of like a proxy for what I'm saying.
Okay, then I do sadness by proxy then, okay?
Interesting. Well, I respect the emotional baseline. Do you think that most people have more control over their emotions than what they think?
Probably not. Most people probably have less control over their emotions than they think. That's true for me, I think. There are times where I'll just be a dick and I'm just being not a fun person to be around. And then I'll like eat a meal, and after I eat, I'm like, oh shit, I think I was hungry for like the past 6 hours because I feel so much better now. I'll go back to my chat and unban like 6 people that I banned because I was just like in a fucking whatever mood. So yeah, I think that most people's moods or vibes are impacting their emotional state more than they realize sometimes.
The chemical reactions going on in their brain
whatever's happening there.
That's really interesting. I'm more of a proponent of like, I think people can force feeling whatever way nearly at every given situation. Obviously there are certain random statistical anomaly, like bad stuff will happen and you'll feel sad. But I think for the most part, like if you feel yourself being very impatient with something, you just have to like have an instant of gratitude and you can force yourself feeling more positive about it.
I don't 100% disagree. I would qualify it a little bit. Like you can have like feelings and then responses to those feelings. And if you enact like certain behaviors, or if you try to have like certain thoughts in response to feelings, you can slowly change the feelings. I think like that. Yeah, there's like a feedback loop there that if any time you feel this way about a particular person or thing, you just think like, okay, maybe this isn't the best way. I need to view this a little bit differently. If you do that process, I think over time can change your thoughts. Yeah.
What's so interesting about that is that he's solving his own problem right there. You experience a young woman being disrespectful towards you, and you feel that emotion of disrespect, but instead of changing your circumstance dependent upon your reaction towards that, you instead internalize that and just be sarcastic with her, which inevitably doesn't get you to the result that you want. But now I'm starting to wonder if it's just his emotional control that allows him to just ignore the obviously blatant disrespectful thing that his wife was doing for so long. Is it possible that his apathetic attitude has led to his ignoring of the behavior of his wife, or ignoring the reality, or having no empathy for the guy that he originally took her from?
Was there any financial impact of having a divorce?
Good question.
No, just good. I just have to worry about myself now, I would say.
He got lucky.
Interesting. So it wasn't like expensive. You didn't have to pay out anything.
I think I paid like $2,000 for an attorney and all the filing fees or whatever. Yeah.
That's really fascinating.
It was a no contest divorce. I mean, it's super cheap. Yeah.
You hear a lot of people say, oh, you're going to...
He got super lucky with that. Most women are going to contest it, especially when you make 7 figures per year, allegedly, and you're probably in the 8 figures when it comes from an asset perspective. But I think that because she had done so much blatant wrong to him, in her mind, it made sense to not contest it because of how she would have been lambasted on the internet from his very strong community.
lose half.
Yeah, most people are fucking retarded. Why would you should never lose. Losing half implies there's a whole bunch of, first of all, only 10% of marriages, the end of them even involve alimony. Division of assets is probably a good thing. You should be dividing assets. You probably should be losing half because you're losing half your partnership that you used to acquire those assets, right? If you're a man and you work and the only reason you were able to afford that house because a wife stayed home and took care of kids, then yeah, of course she should be entitled to something. Like she sacrificed her entire career and enabled you and empowered you to go and work that job. I mean, I think you should, yeah.
His liberalness is showing so much right here. And I'm not disagreeing with his points that a wife should get something, but according to your own definition, she should have gotten half. You're just lucky that a really good lawyer didn't get to her before she signed those papers. Because other men get their shit taken doesn't mean that they're stupid. Relax.
Do you regret having your relationship so public?
No, everything in my life is public.
He makes money off
of it. Get married again?
I don't know. I'm not like a big marriage guy. We got married because she needed the green card to live in the U.S. because I don't want to have a long distance relationship. That sucks. Right. So yeah, but I'm not like a huge marriage dude, and hopefully I don't have any more European brides. So you know.
And you think the next relationships that you get into will be open?
Almost for sure. Yeah.
Almost for sure.
Yeah.
I still can't help believe what I mentioned the first time you came on the show, which was I feel like the standards for levels of attraction and love and intimacy are just lower for the people that have open relationships. Because I can't imagine myself. I haven't been this way my entire life. I don't plan on being this way for the rest of my life where, you know, I find somebody and I'm happy to share this person with a bunch of other people. Like, I feel like I just kind of want them for myself and I want them to want me for themselves.
Okay.
What do you think about this?
Sounds super boring. I don't even think about like
the
I want this person to want me for themselves. It's like not like when I'm with somebody, I'm never thinking like intimately like, God, I'm so happy that she just wants me and not anybody else. Right, it's just not like a thing that's ever in my head, I guess.
But the reason you're not even feeling that in the first place, it's like these deep emotional feelings about somebody else. That's what I'm saying. There's like a deeper level of intimacy or connection.
What does that have to do with whether or not they're with somebody else when they're not with you?
I think what Jack's trying to say is if you had like maybe a deeper connection or a deeper...
I'm saying like I think that the connections are slightly more shallow in open relationships because of what is okay for it to happen.
Let me try to explain to you like this, Destiny. If you enjoy the intimate setting with you and your significant other, then that is generally something that you just do with you and your significant other, right? Like I got a new car recently and I'm not going to let no one drive that car. It's just my car. My boys coming to town. No, you can't take my car to go to the store. My family come in town. No, get your hands off those goddamn keys. Shit, if Jesus rose from heaven and say, hey, yo, bro, can I drive your car? No, Jesus, go catch the bus. Now, let's say I did let Jesus use my car and he returned my car and he said that he spilled something in the center console. That's essentially what happens in these open relationships is that other men get to spill things on your wife or in your wife in all of her orifices, right? Like it's generally something that you just don't want to share if you have a high connection with said woman or said car or object.
In a relationship.
Okay. I mean, I could just say I think the connections in monogamous relationships are way more shallow because if that person is with anybody else, all of a sudden, everything you feel about that person is like now held at risk. I don't think I need necessarily any shallow or less shallow. I think just different people have different approaches to relationships, I guess. I don't know. Do you love your child less if you have a second one?
I don't think that's necessarily the same thing.
That's not the same thing.
I didn't say it's the same thing. I'm just saying that like when I'm with somebody, if I really love somebody, there's a lot of things that I'm thinking about for why I love this person. It might be the way that we spend time together. It might be some level of like physical attraction. It might be some level of like sexual and romantic chemistry. It might be like their sense of humor, their ambition. It might be like personality traits. It might be hobbies or things we do together. But it's never my life. Is it like, I'm so happy that they're not going to be with somebody else when we stop hanging out. That's just not like a thing that I think about much. And if we were just together and we weren't hanging out with anyone else, I don't know why that would make me like them anymore or I would care anymore about that.
Right. I would say it's more so like the sacrifice that each person makes to the other person.
Why would I want them to sacrifice that?
Because I think it's a part of the relationship.
That sounds horrible.
Get in there, Jack.
Why would I like? What if I found out that my partner every morning for 30 minutes like stuck like needles into their nipples and like every day like God, I'm so happy you did that sacrifice. Like why would I want them to sacrifice? I don't know. What is it? I don't think sacrifice is good in and of itself.
I think it's the idea of putting someone else above yourself. So I think in most relationships, they'll say you'll both make sacrifices to be in that relationship. And if you give a little, you take a little, it shows that you value the other person.
Yeah, but the goal should always be to minimize the sacrifice. I don't want my partner sacrificing more than they need to, right? Like if I'm sick, I'd want them to take care of me, but I don't want them to like clean up like all my shit around my apartment because I'm a child and I can't do anything for me, right? Like whatever sacrifice we're making should be in service of something that we feel is important. If you think monogamy is important or sexual exclusivity is important, then the sacrifice is, yeah, I think good or respectable. But if you don't care about that, then why, I don't know, I wouldn't. Like sacrifice isn't good just because it's sacrifice, right? Like I could go right now into traffic and sacrifice myself and die, and you'd be like, what the fuck did you do that for? It's like, shouldn't you be grateful? I sacrificed for your podcast. I sacrificed myself for the podcast. And it's like, well, you didn't actually help with anything. You didn't do anything. Yeah.
Okay.
I suppose for me, I just think like if I'm in a relationship with someone, I want them constantly choosing me over anybody else. So technically that would be an open marriage, but they're just not executing on the openness of the marriage.
I like that statement there, because what he's trying to say is that the woman is prioritizing you. What Destiny has said time and time again, I guess not time and time again, but just within the confines of this conversation is that he's independent enough where he doesn't care to be prioritized, and mixed with not understanding how to command respect from a woman, mixed with his emotional evenness, he doesn't consider these things that helps draw a woman closer to you over time.
You know?
I think any relationship is technically open because you could just go and leave if you really wanted to.
That's like,
but then you end the relationship.
Cheat, everything is an open relationship. Yeah.
But then you but at the sacrifice of ending the relationship.
Sure. I think there's some level of people wanting to feel like they're the number one choice in every regard for their partner. They might want to have that feeling. So the exclusivity is really important because it reinforces that. Yeah.
Where do you think morals come from?
Probably the same thing as the political beliefs. We inherit them from our social groups, basically.
The social groups?
Mm-hmm. So if you're born into a Christian, Islamic, American family, like your morals are going to suspiciously resemble basically all the people around you, probably because that's where you get them from. Yeah.
So when did you start adopting your current philosophical and moral beliefs? Was that influenced by your environment?
Probably. So I grew up like very Catholic. I went to a Catholic school until I graduated high school. Around 15, 16, I started to kind of like pivot towards atheism. And when I became atheist, I started to read I read 2 books by Ayn Rand. And I noticed afterwards that I was like full on, like, this is the smartest person ever. I'm like a card-carrying objectivist. Like, this is the best thing ever. I love this so much. And then I realized after like 6 months, I was like, okay, well, hold on. I just ditched my religion. And then I read one author. And the first author that I read, I happened to agree with every single thing they said. And now I want to follow her to the ends of the earth. I'm probably just a stupid kid. I'm probably just like believing whatever the fuck stuff I read. So I need to like take a step back. I need to not let other people like influence me so much. I need to figure out like on a fundamental core level, like what's important to me. And then once I've kind of like ironed out these fundamental core beliefs, then I can from there start to like extrapolate these into the political world around me, basically, or the social world around me, I guess. Yeah. So I try to be relatively independent, but I mean, invariably I'm going to be influenced by whatever video games I'm playing, movies or anime or TV shows I'm watching, or the people around me, the country I'm in, and everything as well. Right.
Great answer.
Like there's no way that it's just by chance I happen to be like an institutionally supporting social democrat who believes in liberalism and free market capitalism, and also a person that lives in the United States of America. So I mean,
what I think is so fascinating regarding this conversation is kind of understanding Destiny's mindset and the way that he thinks about things. And I'm saying this from a perspective of I appreciate Destiny. Why? He's so introspective in his thoughts, and I think that hearing from his leftist ideals how the differences of how he conducts himself in some of these political discussion, understanding where he gets his ideas from, and then seeing how he doesn't then extrapolate that into his relationships, I think is absolutely fascinating. To understand where he was, where he entered into this red pill space, he would go on Fresh and Fit, he would have these debates, and I think a lot of people saw him as the polar opposite, especially looking at his lifestyle and some of the relationship or marriage decisions that he's made. And I think a lot of their audience really liked Destiny because, as I've said previously, he represented a polar opposite to Myron, but one that had the intellectual horsepower to go toe-to-toe with Myron that allowed them in a way to toss up their ideas for the audience to understand which of these ideas were more form fit within their life. And as I continue to look at his thought process within this, it continues to remind me that although you can be a person that has searched for truth, but if you don't understand the basics of human nature or female nature, then you can get taken advantage of. Just like in the wild, it's survival of the fittest. And in modern times today, the modern woman is shifting. So what strategies are you deploying? What understandings are you investing your time into in order to get the intended result that you are looking for? Shout out to Destiny. I know as he's gone through this divorce, I've, criticized, gave feedback, talked shit on different things. But as a live streamer, as a commentator, I really appreciate his thoughts. And I think the type of bravery that it takes to put up your relationship for content, I know for me, I do not ever intend to put on any relationship. The audience more than likely will never know everything that's going on in my life because I see no benefit of it. All right. I point me to the relationship podcast or something like this where putting on said significant other on the main platform who also is not a public figure was particularly beneficial for the content creators. He does it. And when times are good, the audience receives it as good. But when times are bad, then the audience will utilize that as content as well. It's part of his paycheck. And he demonstrates that he has the emotional control where it really doesn't impact him like that. So different strokes for different folks. Questions, comments, concerns. Y'all already know what to do. Mediocre tourism reviews at gmail.com. By the way, this conversation came from the Graham Stephan, the Iced Coffee Hour. I'll leave a link to it down in the description box down below. The conversation went on for another like 2.5 hours, so feel free to go up there and to check out the content. Funny enough, I talked to Graham Stephan. He probably wasn't even going to remember this, but I talked to Graham Stephan way back in like 2019. He did a video with some psycho chick. I reacted to the video. He ended up hitting me up on Instagram and he contacted me. And he was like, you know, because of the way this chick is taking this video, you know, you mind taking the video down? I ended up taking the video down out of respect for him. And I said to him on that phone call, you know, one of these days, you might be interviewing me. And it was kind of like a quiet pause at the end. Yeah, quiet, awkward pause. Yeah, sure. You know what I mean? Look at us now, all right? 600,000 subscribers. Graham, what up? Hit me up, baby. Let's have a conversation. Shout out to the MT Army. Take care, guys. And I'll see you soon. Until next time, you too. Peace.